I'm going into a couple places and it's still connecting to the other place, which is LinkedIn. But if you are watching this on the replay, just want to give you a heads up that it might start off a little blurry. I might look like a blob right now, but it is going to clear up. So just stick with it because we are talking about something important today, and that is about how to write through the chaos of society and life and the industry and all of that, because that's how it's feeling right now. So I'll give it just another minute to get this connection here to LinkedIn. All right, we are good to go. So, yes, again, if I'm a little blurry, it's going to clear up. Stick with me here. So, today we are live talking about how to write through the chaos and staying creative in uncertain times, how to do it, and also why it is so important for us as Black creators to do it. So, society feels like a hot flaming mess right now, and the industry doesn't feel much better across the board. So if you're a Black screenwriter and you're trying to navigate writing through societal chaos, you are in the right place. Now, let me tell you who I am. My name is Kristen Iris Johnson. I am a showrunner, film producer, screenwriter, and CEO of Black Screenwriter Alliance, where we bring together emerging Black screenwriters who are serious about building a career in the industry to connect, to elevate their writing skills, build industry connections, and forge their own path that works for them, but doing it with allies, because community is everything. And that is what we do in Black Screenwriter Alliance. We are all about community. So you can check us out at blackscreenwriteralliance.mn.co for more. But for now, we are here, we are live, and we are talking about writing through the chaos. Make sure that you like, subscribe, and enjoy this live. All right. There's a lot going on right now. All right. There's a lot going on, especially if I'm not going to say especially in the States, because like there are places where it is way more chaotic than it is here. But, a lot of people in the States right now are feeling like, oh, this is different than it has been. It is getting worse, right? And it's getting worse. And in a lot of other places, it's getting worse. And as the US gets worse, that starts to spread everywhere else and make a lot of other places worse because the US is an empire. But I'm not going to get into that because that's not really the point of this live. All right. Now, what we are talking about is that while this time can feel really uncertain, it can feel hopeless, it can feel infuriating and stressful, we as creators can still find ways to keep going through the chaos. And that doesn't necessarily mean that is business as usual, right? Because even just look at the industry is sort of business as usual, but sort of not. But what it does mean is that it is really important for us as creatives to keep creating and to find ways of doing that even when it feels like the world is in chaos, because there have been times in history when the world felt like it was in chaos, when the world actually was in chaos, or a society or a culture was in chaos. But a driving force for change and hope has been art. It has been story. Story can shift perspective. It can create change. And so for me, I feel like in this time, it's times like this when our voices as Black creators are really important. They're really needed. So for me, and I will share why I'm bringing this topic because this is personal. It is something that I have been struggling with to like really get to my writing myself. My writing has been, there's a lot of things going on. It's like societal, there's like other things going on in my life. And so writing has been a challenging thing for me to keep up with without having a deadline. Like just keeping up with it for myself. If I got a deadline, baby, I can get it done. Okay. Like I'm in, I get it. I'll get it done. I will bust my ass. I don't care, how late I have to stay up. If I'm on a deadline, I will make it happen. But when I'm not on a deadline and I'm writing for myself or to prepare things to be able to put out there in a time like this where I am so bombarded and overloaded with everything that's going on, everything that's pissing me off, with all of the challenges then it is hard for me to get in a creative mode. And I know that I'm not the only one. And for some of you, you might be like, oh, this is the time when I thrive when as a creative, because like that chaos just makes me want to dive into my writing. And that's awesome. But I know that there's some other of you who are like me, where it's a struggle to get into it, and that is okay. Um, so we're going to talk about some ways that what you can do to keep going, and to keep creating, and to keep moving that part forward even when everything feels unsettled. So one, I want to talk about, and I talked about this on Tuesday, so you can check out my other video on managing stress. Manage your stress. Okay, manage your stress and find ways to care for yourself, for your mental health, and for your nervous system. All right, the mind and the body both need to be cared for, and stress impacts both. So I talked a lot about this in my last video, key tips for managing stress as a screenwriter. You can go and check that out. It is up on the YouTube channel, so you can go and check that out, and I will try to put a link as well. But there are a lot of tips there. Actually, I think I gave 6 tips on how you can manage your stress, and those are really important, especially in a time like this when everything can feel like out of control, right? And so the next thing I want to say, aside from managing stress, because I'm not going to dive too much into that because I did so much in the whole of the last video was about managing stress, but one thing that has helped me is to think about what is actually in my control, right? Because sometimes if we feel like, oh, everything's out of control and I can't manage anything, but like there's something that's in your control. What is actually in your control? And for example, for me, I am on like a big workout kick right now. One, I love working out, so like it has been great for me to be able to get back into it at this level. I've always been an athlete. Two, when I have not been able to work out at this level, it has been because my disabilities have limited me. So again, it is great to actually be able to work out and to train and to move at the level that I am now and to be pushing myself forward. But the other element, aside from it's helping with the mental health, is that feels to me like something that is actually completely in my control. I control if I get up and I work out. I control if I do strength training. I control when I do cardio. I control when I do mobility. That is something that I have complete control over. And it gives me a sense of groundedness when I'm able to engage with something and be like, this is something that I have a say about, and I'm having my say right now. I am doing this workout. It doesn't mean I'm working out like super crazy and like nonstop all day long, but it does mean that because this is something that I do have control over, something that does give me a sense of groundedness in my life, that I get to be diligent about actually pursuing that. So, working out is something I actually have control over. Another thing I have control over, and this is something that helped me specifically around this topic, is I actually do have control over my writing and whether or not I write. I have been struggling to do it. I've been struggling to keep up with it because other things that are more urgent, honestly, and more pressing have been taking priority. But writing is still something that I have control over. And coming to that realization is helping me prioritize it more, right? It's helping me to look at it and be like, this is something I have control over. I can't control everything else, but I can control, even if I'm just doing 15 minutes a day, 20 minutes a day, an hour a day of writing, or even if I'm just doing it a couple days a week, that is something that I can control. And if that is something I can control, that means it's something that I can continue to engage in. So when I made that kind of like shift this week, that like realization where I was like, what do I have control over? I have control over my workouts, when I work out, what kind of workout. I have control over my writing. I have control over what projects I want to write. I have control over when I want to actually write it. You know, I may not have a lot of time to do it. I may not be able to prioritize a lot of time to do it because there are other things that are more urgent, but I still have control over, yes, I can do it. So I can set that in my schedule. And that is something like, as I've been like reworking my schedule and tinkering with it. That is something that I have been actually doing or working on, is like, okay, where is the best time for me to do certain things in that, when is it more optimal for my brain, when is it more optimal for my mood, and trying to modify my schedule to be able to do that. Because again, there are certain things that I have control over and there are certain things that I don't. But the things that I have control over, writing is actually one of those things. Even if I sit and I stare at that screen for 20 minutes and I don't get more than a word down, I still had control over actually doing the task. So for you, what are the things that are in your control? Not the things that you can't control, not the things that feel like chaos. What is actually in your control? Another thing that's in my control, and a lot of y'all need to hear this, is my consumption of social media, because we will sit here and be all the way addicted to these phones, to these social media apps. And I get it, sometimes it's an escape, but it also bombards you with information and input and and just like stimuli that is probably not actually serving you in any beneficial way, right? So you have control over your social media intake. I know I say this from like a YouTube channel, but that is something where you can look at and be like, okay, am I over consuming? Am I checking out? Am I stressing my nervous system by being bombarded by different posts or doom scrolling? And how can I, and if that is something that's happening, great. Let me start to reduce this. Let me put limitations on this. Let me eliminate it if you want to. Okay, I know someone now who was like, I'm actually just getting rid of all of my social media. I need a break. I have done that repeatedly. It is why I don't spend a lot of time posting on Instagram. I actually spend more time on YouTube. But I was like, I don't actually like being on social media all the time and letting it hijack my nervous system. Like it was, it's like, yay, kitten videos. I love that. That, like, that's the good fuzzy feelings. But then I'm scrolling and I'm seeing doom. And that doesn't mean that I'm trying to like check out and um completely disconnect from what's happening, but it does mean that I want to be in control of when I am consuming certain information, so that my nervous system is not just getting hijacked while I just happen to be scrolling or I was mindlessly doing something. It's like I am taking in information when I am mentally prepared to actually take in that information. So social media, that is something you have control over. That, for most people, for the vast majority of people, for pretty much all people, social media is a kind of distraction. And for a lot of people, it is an addiction. So that is something that you can control, that can help you to navigate this time of chaos and actually be like, cool, let me pull back from that. Let me just take my nervous system back from that. So I'm not constantly in anxiety and panic and rage. And let me put my focus and my energy on writing or connecting with people, or nurturing your relationships, whatever it is for you. I said writing because this is also about writing and writing through the chaos. But feeling for what are the things that you have control over, that you can engage in, that will help you, or that you can disengage from, that are holding you back, like social media. All right. So that is something that you can also look at for yourself. Another thing that's really important right now is remembering why your voice is so important. Your voice. All right. Your voice is important. Your stories are important. Remember why that is. Get rooted in that, because when you can be rooted in that sense of purpose and that sense of mission, that will help you to come back to your writing, especially in a time like this. Because as Black creators, our voices are often defiance, they are resistance, they are possibility. Okay, so for example, you might find that your writing, that you can put something in your writing that becomes a mirror for society now, that you are able to reflect what is happening and do it in a way where people can see, where people can open their perspective, right? Like that can be an outlet. Writing can be an outlet for what is happening and what you are experiencing, what is going on for you. It can be a way of getting that out. This is why our personal experiences are so powerful when it comes to writing, and comes to creativity, and when it comes to art, is because it is that personal human experience that informs the work that we're doing and that brings humanity and insight to it in a way that resonates with so many people. So that is one way that you can do it. You might find yourself putting whatever is coming out of you into your writing, putting experience, putting a reflection of society into your writing to be a mirror. But you may also find, and you might be doing both of these, you may also be using your writing to explore the possibilities of a better world. And that can be in so many different genres. Like, I'm not saying that your work has to be super serious. Like, Abbott Elementary is actually like a great example of this, right? Like, it is teachers in a school, it's comedic, it's highlighting some of the challenges that teachers face as teachers, and that certain schools face in serving a marginalized population, but it does it in a comedic way. And it also shows it also shows like what's possible with teachers who really really care and who are trying to champion for their students. So it opens up the possibilities of like a better world. What would it look like if every school had teachers like the teachers at Abbott Elementary, right? So using your writing is can be an avenue in this time of chaos and uncertainty for you to pour into that, to use it as a reflection, or to also like I said, show the possibility, inspire what a better world could look like or what a better situation could look like. So that is a way of like remembering the importance of your voice. What is it that you have to say? That's an important question. What is it that you have to say to society, to the world? What is it that you want to share? And really ground yourself in that. And then pour that into and through your writing. Okay? So, I also feel like in talking about that, like the importance of our voices, the importance of what you have to say, pouring into your writing. I also want to be clear, even if your writing never makes it to screen, never gets seen by anybody, and let's say you have a particular project, even if that never gets seen by anybody, because most of the things that we write are never going to get greenlit. That's the math of it, right? It's never going to get greenlit, never going to get produced, but we keep doing it. I I believe that the very act of creating, as marginalized people, as Black people who are constantly under attack in our society, whether it is ever seen or not, is itself an act of revolution and an act of hope. Because to use your voice, even if it's not getting out there, to create is an act of revolution when we are being told that nobody wants to hear what we have to say. To to engage in the act of creating and not just being a drone in society, that is powerful. Because when we tap into that aspect of ourselves, we are tapping into something that is ours. Like when I tap into my creativity, I am tapping into something that is mine and it is only mine. It is nobody else's. Nobody else out there is the creative that I am. Nobody else out there has the experiences, the unique, specific experiences and the time that they happen that I have. Nobody else is me, and nobody else is you. So to engage in the act of creating is something that is unique to you. And that itself, to claim that, to say, yes, I'm going to keep doing this. Yes, I'm going to create something. Yes, I'm going to put my thoughts and my stories down. That is an act of revolution away from the run scared, do this, and whatever society and this government is trying to push us into. To create is to imagine something more. And that is revolution, but that is also hope. When we write, when we create, we have hope for a world where we can continue doing that. So the very act of creating, which also is a way of engaging in love. It's a way of engaging in joy. It's a way of engaging in pleasure in our own lives. When you do that, that is revolution and that is hope, because you are staying connected to something that you you're staying connected to a part of you that nobody else can take, and you are staying connected to the hope again, that the world, that this is needed in the world, and the hope that for a world where you are able to do that, where you are able to create freely, where you are able to share stories and make an impact freely. So the very act is powerful. Now, these are things to keep in mind. I think these things can help us to continue moving, to stay grounded in our purpose, to stay grounded in defiance, the act of the revolutionary act of creating itself. And you can't do that alone. I mean, you can, but that is where people drop off, right? So you need to make sure that you are finding your support as well. Whether that is friends, whether it's family. As writers, you definitely want to make sure that you have writing support. If you don't have support, we have it in Black Screenwriter Alliance. That is our community of emerging Black film and TV writers. And it is all about finding your allies, finding your support, finding your people who will not only give you feedback, but will push you forward when you are in doubt. They will lift you up when you're like, oh my God, something awful happened. That is what you get when you have community. And community, that support system, will take you so much farther than you will go on your own. And when you have community around you as well, it also opens up opportunities because, let's say I hear of a writing opportunity or I get hired for something, and, the showrunner's like, all right, I'm still looking for another writer. I'm going to recommend, if I have a friend, if I have a writing friend that I think would be good for that, I'm going to recommend them. Right. And so by them being in community with me, they may get a recommendation. And I've actually hired, I've hired people like for my show, Wicked City, I hired people that I knew. I hired writers that I knew I could trust, that I knew I could rely on, and that I knew were good with certain aspects of story that we wanted to bring in. So people work with, they collaborate with, and they hire people that they know, people that they like, right? And people that they trust. And that is something that happens when you have community around you. So you want to find your support, you want to find your community. You can, like I said, come check us out at blackscreenwriteralliance.mn.co. You can try it free for 7 days. Now, with that element of community, this is where you get to take it up even more. And your community also becomes your accountability system or part of your accountability systems. So that may look like doing weekly check-ins, right? It may look like, if it may even just look like you saying, hey, this is what I want to do, this is what I'm working towards. And in 2 weeks they might be like, hey, where you at with it, because I haven't heard an update. Right? So when you have your support, you then want to build in, what are my accountability systems, so that in the chaos, in the noise, in the uncertainty of the world, the uncertainty of the industry, the uncertainty of life, because honestly, life is just full of uncertainty, that you have systems to keep moving you forward and to keep you engaged in your creative muscle, right? And in your writing. So what does that accountability system look like? So like I said, it could be an accountability buddy. It can be an accountability group that you guys set up regular check-ins. It can also be a one thing that we have in Black Screenwriter Alliance is we have a goal tracker. So we have a weekly goal tracker where you update. You have your monthly goal, and then every week you update, this is what I'm doing, and the next week you mark, did you get it done? Did you not get it done? Right? That is a tool that is available to you in the community. And it is when you have that public accountability, because again, it is a document that everybody in the community can put their goals into and put their tasks and track it. So when you have that public accountability, you're more inclined to do the thing you said you were going to do. That is actually has been studied. There are studies that prove this, that when you have a goal and you tell someone that goal, and then you set up regular check-ins and accountability for that goal, you have a much, much higher chance of actually achieving it, of actually staying on track, to the tune of like a 90% increase or something. I don't know. Don't quote me on that because I don't remember the actual statistics of it, but it's actually crazy. From like I have a goal and it's just up here in my head and I don't write it down. It goes up when you write it down. It goes even higher when you share it with someone. And it goes even higher when you have regular check ins. And you are 95% likely to actually um, reach your goals when you are doing all of those steps, when you write it down, share it, and do regular check ins. So these are systems that can help you to stay on track even when it's chaotic. All right. And having that support system around you will help you to continue staying on track and keeping up with your accountability systems, even when you're like, what's the fork is happening right now? Or something bad happens or you have a setback. Um, so yeah, there are different ways for accountability. Like I said, we also have, just to let you know, we also do co-working calls in Black Screenwriter Alliance. So every Saturday we have a co-working call in the afternoon. And that is just like, that is another great way. And that's something you could do even if you have your own accountability group. Like I did this last fall. I put a group of people together. Some of them I had worked with before, some of them I had not, but I was like, hey, y'all, like, let's connect about this. Do you want to do an accountability group? And we had co-working calls twice a week. And those co-working calls give you a designated time. So if you are struggling to write in the chaos, a co-working call with other writers gives you that designated time to say, okay, I am working on my writing in this time. It could be your writing, maybe you're pitching, maybe you're doing outreach, whatever it is, but it gives you that regular scheduled time where you are accountable to somebody else because other people are showing up as well. And that helps you show up. It's easy to not show up for yourself when you're only showing up for yourself. It's easy to be like, oh, no, I can't. I got to handle this other thing. I'll come back to it. And then you never do. But when you have a regular time to show up with other people, that is a time that you have committed. It's easier to stick to that commitment because other people are there with you, and that gives you time to be like, okay, let me sit down and do this work. So co-working calls are a great way. Like I said, we have co-working calls. You can use a goal tracker, you can create one of your own, or you can use the one that is in our community. And yeah, having like an accountability group or people that you check in with. One of the things that we do in BSA is like every Friday it's like a hey, like every Monday it's update your goal tracker, and every Friday is here's an update. What's going on? What's your progress check? Right? And that's the time to check in on where you're at. And that could be a celebratory, this is what I got done. It may be a this is what I'm being challenged with, but it gives you that space to voice it. And that can help to keep you on track. So make sure that you check us out, blackscreenwriteralliance.mn.co. You can try it free for 7 days. And even if you don't join, is like, who is your support system and what are your accountability systems? I cannot stress how important this is. This is one of the reasons I created the community. Um, there's so many people who are like, yeah, I want to do this or I want to do that, but they don't actually set themselves up to succeed. They don't set themselves up to actually get there. They don't set their goals, right? And that's something that's important. So, every month in Black Screenwriter Alliance, we do a monthly goal setting and action call ahead of the next month. It's the last Thursday of every month to get ready for the month that's going to come, so that you can get clear on what are your goals. You workshop your goals to make sure that they're actually reasonable and make sense. You workshop your action steps so that you know exactly what you have to do and where you may need to adjust to actually get it done. And that way you are setting yourself up for success. So all of these accountability things are things that we have in Black Screenwriter Alliance. And even if you don't join, these are things that you can implement for yourself. Is when are you checking your goals? When are you refreshing your goals? Who is your support? What is your accountability system that you have in place? These things will help to keep you going in these uncertain times when the world feels like it's on fire, right? So share in the comments, share one thing you're taking from this conversation with you that you are going to use for yourself to help you keep writing through the chaos, to help you stay creative through uncertain times. Yeah, I want to know what it is that you got from this that you're going to take with you. So make sure that you like, that you like and subscribe for more, or if you're on LinkedIn, that you like and follow, because I'm going to be doing more lives. I'm going live every Tuesday, Thursday. And then also make sure that you check us out in Black Screenwriter Alliance, trying it free for 7 days, blackscreenwriteralliance.mn.co. There's also a link in the description. And I will see you guys next week. I'm going to be going live again Tuesday, Thursday. What are we talking about on Tuesday? Let me see. Imposter syndrome. That's going to be a good one. I got a lot to say about imposter syndrome. So make sure you join me. If you subscribe, you will get notified when I go live. But I will be going live on Tuesday talking about imposter syndrome, and we'll be carrying that through the week. So it's going to be a good time. Make sure that you check us out. And if you have any questions, would love to see them in the comments. Pop them in and let's have a dialogue about this, right? Like, what do you do? What is going on for you? How are you navigating the hot flaming mess that is society right now? And let's be a support for each other. That's why we're here. That's why Black Screenwriter Alliance is here. All right, see you guys in the next live.